Hi everyone and welcome back. Mindy here with you today, and in today's video I'm going to be doing some more experimenting with liquid watercolors. And even though I love making bright, bold backgrounds, I thought it was high time I experimented with creating a pastel or light colored background. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. I'm starting off by using this new stamp set from Pink and Main called The Bright Side. This is from their May 2019 release. It has a couple rainbow images and clouds on here. I'm going to stamp out a few of those images with my Misty tool. This is Neenah Solar White cardstock, which is 80 pound, and I plan on Copic coloring these images in, so I'm going to use a Copic friendly ink, which in this case is going to be the Gina K Designs Amalgam ink. This is Copic safe, water coloring safe, so it's a really great all-around ink. So I'm going to stamp those images down, and I do apologize. I'm not sure where my footage went for the Copic coloring of these images, but I did do really simple coloring. I only used two different uh, shades when it came to actually coloring the rainbow stripes of them. I will have those colors listed down below in the video description and also on my blog. So I apologize for that inconvenience. Once I had those colored, I did match them up with these adorable pink coordinating dies. I had held those dies in place with some purple tape and ran them through my die cutting machine. So here's a look at the images that I colored in. It was the sun, the rainbow, and a few of the clouds. This is going to create my scene on my background once I am done. Now for the watercoloring, I'm going to be using the Waffle Flower Water Media Mat. I'm really enjoying liking this. I like the little wells off on the side. And I am using the Hero Arts Liquid Watercolors. These come in quite a few different colors. The ones that I'm using today are pink, orange, I think it was dandelion is the yellow. Then I have the leaf, which is a really bright green, deep ocean, and purple. And I will have those colors and supplies listed down below too. Now, to make your colors lighter when you come to watercoloring, you're going to want to add water to them. So I'm taking this little dropper bottle that I have filled with water, and I'm adding about 3 drops of water to each. That's going to dilute the color because these actually are really bright, bright colors, which is why I love them so much. But I do want to try for a lighter pastel type of background. Just in practice, it's great to try and be able to do all kinds of things with watercolor. I'm also going to be doing this with Canson watercolor paper. So I have that trimmed down. It's a little larger than the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 because that way I can always trim it down if I want to. So I'm just taking a small paintbrush and I'm mixing in that water with the purple. I'm going to start with one of the easiest techniques that I know how to do right now, which is wet on wet. So the first thing I'll do is I'm going to take a bigger brush and I'm going to wet the entire background of my cardstock. That will help get the colors moving, and because we're adding more water, this is going to help lighten those colors up a lot more. So just spreading that water all around, not too thick where it's dripping off of your cardstock, but you want to just have it wet. And typically the ink is only going to go where you have added the water. So I'm starting with that pink, and even watered down, you can see this is still really bright. So I'm just going to swish this back and forth across my cardstock. I'm going to clean off my brush in between and add the orange underneath. And even by you dipping your brush into water, and I just kind of lightly tap off on a rag off on the side, just so I'm not dripping water from my paintbrush. Because we're adding more water to that, you can see these colors are lightening up. So especially the yellow, I probably didn't need to add so many drops of water to the yellow because that's already light to begin with. And then I'm going to come in with the green. This too, because it's so bright, the yellow of it is really coming through on that green. And then in with the blue. So this is working out really well for me. This is a really nice light background, which honestly kind of having a hard time with not adding color because I always think things should be brighter. But I'm just going with it, adding in those swooshes of color. And then I will come back in and I'm going to try and blend that pink and the orange together a little bit more. I'm going to just add a little bit of water there. Didn't pick up any more ink. I just want to spread those colors together to kind of have it be of a more natural blend. Now you can set this off on the side to air dry, but I like to speed my drying time up with my heat tool. And you can heat on top of this waffle flower mat. You just got to make sure whatever is underneath is also safe for your heat tool. So I dried that background, which also did kind of lighten up those colors a little bit more. At this point, I would typically bring in more color because, like I said, I love bright. So I had to really stop and look at this and just stop myself from adding more color. I brought in the pieces that I had already die cut, and I'm looking at them compared to the background, and I knew they were going to really work well together. So I'm just going to leave it as is. Now, in the meantime, I did want to show you how I clean up the mat. I do take a baby wipe and I just wipe through those little wells. You can also, I have a piece of plastic cut from the packaging like Christina Warner had done, so I could always take it to the sink if there are some stubborn colors that don't want to come out with the baby wipe. And it does come perfectly clean. I don't have any staining as of yet. Now this is the stitched rectangle die from Pink and Main. So I'm going to take that, figure out the area that I want to die cut out, and I'll hold that in place with the purple tape and run that through my die cut machine. And that's just going to leave a really nice stitching edge to my panel. Once I have that die cut out, I'm going to set it off on the side and work on a quick sentiment. Now I'm also using a sentiment that's off of this Bright Side stamp set. I'm using a piece of mermaid cardstock that I lined up in my Misty tool. I have some Gina K Designs embossing ink. Now with this sentiment, you want to be careful because the first few words are a smaller font, but they're also thicker, so you don't want to push down hard. Otherwise, you're going to squish those and you're not going to read it very well. So just gentle touch when you are pushing that down onto your cardstock. And then I sprinkle that with the Brutus Monroe Alabaster White Embossing Powder, and I'll melt that with my heat tool. Once that's nice and melted, I'll trim that down just into a nice square, whatever fit the actual words that are on there. And I can start the assembly of my card. So I'm just using the Gina K Designs tape runner to attach a white piece of cardstock to some mermaid cardstock. I thought the mermaid really looked pretty with this pastel background. And that white cardstock is going to be a nice border around my watercolor panel. For the watercolor panel, I'm lining that with foam tape for stability because with watercoloring and you had water on there, it is a little warped. So I just added that back there for the stability of it. And then I could start bringing in my colored pieces to create my little rainbow scene. So I did take some tape runner, just added a little bit to the sun to attach behind the rainbow, and then I can add some foam tape to that to pop it up for some dimension. I'll add the rainbow to about the center of my card, and the clouds I'm just going to attach straight to that watercolor panel. I'm not going to add any foam tape to the clouds, but I will add foam tape to the sentiment. So that'll kind of match up with the height of my rainbow that I have up there. That will finish up my card for today. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at this process of creating some soft pastel colored backgrounds with these bright liquid watercolors. If you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate a thumbs up and feel free to leave me a comment down below. I do love reading through all of the comments left down on the channel. The supplies will be listed on my blog and the video description as well. And if you'd like to be a subscriber, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the little bell to be notified of any future videos that come out. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll catch you next time.